Well, happy Friday. It's lovely to see you both. Happy Friday, as some people say. Is that a term you use, D?
No, but it sounds great though. I love it that you using it. Yeah.
Well, I see we're doing opposing colors today. I'm the colorful one, and you're going more like Michael Jackson Thriller. You're giving me black and white. It's giving me nostalgic,
This
classic.
is my color though. I love black. It just goes with everything. And it's so universal. And I love black people. I love all things black. So yes, of course, that you're gonna see me in black a whole lot. And it's just easy.
I love it, rooting for everybody and everything black today. I'm here for it. Vashti,
Exactly.
I see that you are definitely on theme as well. Y'all could have sent me the memo. I didn't know today was all Black Friday.
Black is a staple. I'm a emo kid on the inside, so
And timeless. We're here for it all. Well, it's so lovely to see you both. It's lovely to see everyone. Hello, every beautiful body out there. For those who don't know, my name is Blair G. Hervey. I'm the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. I'm joined by my not so colorful, but colorful in personality, spirit, energy, co-host, bestie, and soul friend of 20 plus years, DeAngelo Crane. Hi, D.
Hi, Blair Herbie. So glad to be here. I am the CEO of nothing of myself. So I'm glad to be I just the only thing I'm in charge of is me, myself, and I. Okay, hello somebody. But anyhow, I'm glad to be here on this wonderful Friday afternoon.
I love it. And we appreciate all the work that you do for the corporate strategist as well as an independent consultant. And welcome everyone to the Black Diva Collective. So I'll pass it back to you, D. You know, I love this part mainly because I like to talk about myself from time to time.
Really, do you?
Don't do me.
All right. What we do here every day on the Black Diva Collective is that we do the art of the check-in. It's what we're asking leaders to do each and every day is to really check in on your employees, your colleagues, the people that you work with, and your friends and family, and not just that regular check-in that we do with just, hey, how you doing? Really say the question I say is, how are you feeling today? And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to practice what we preach. And Vashti, we're going to start with you. How are you feeling today? What's on your mind, your heart, your soul? How you tell us how you live and how you feeling on this Friday?
I am feeling really good. I'm inside, but I can see the outside. The sun is out. It's nice. It's not too cold. It's not too hot. So yeah, I can't complain. My spirit is happy. I've slept. I've eaten, and I'm loved. So can't get any better than that.
Truly, that's right there. That's my heart too, right there. Yes, exactly. That is how the kids do it, Blair. I don't never know anyhow.
I
Okay,
was,
there, oh, there you
I
go.
was
Okay,
supposed to be half and you were supposed to
the
be the other
kid, at work they were saying the kids do something that's connected. I can't. I don't know any of that. Okay, but yeah, Blair, how you feeling? How you living on this Friday? Because you gotta go up. You gotta say it high. Friday. Mhm.
I'm doing great, but don't be throwing up gang signs, okay? This is not the platform for that. It's just a heart, boo. We just keep it real cute and
The
simple.
only game I'm in is the gay mafia, boo. Okay, I don't know what signs they throw up. But that's it. Maniac. What?
Can always depend on you to throw me off. I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing super fantastic. Like my old friend Jason Barker used to say, if I was any better, I would be twins. So not the Jason Barker you know.
I
Anyway,
know.
it's fine. Yes. Yes, I'm doing very, very well. Really excited to have our guest here. And she has done some fabulous work in the community. And so I'd love to share a little bit more about her. Vashti has done this work that we refer to as diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and now accessibility as well, both paid and volunteer in various organizations, mostly nonprofit based, it sounds like for nearly the past decade, and completed her graduate research on privilege and intersectionality. So she brings all of that experience into a business where she's focused on leadership development at her firm, and she's focused on social justice embedded into every facet of every organization that she works with. So we really appreciate you. Welcome and hello, Vashti.
Hello. So happy to be here.
Sounds like you're coming down at the end of the Friday, but that's okay. We're going to bring you right on back up.
Right.
Well, look, why don't you put it in your words? Tell us a little bit more about how you got into this work and what that pivotal moment was that really said, you know, this is the work that I need to be centered in.
Yeah. So, officially, my business model is consulting. We do leadership development and early career development coaching, right? So how I look at it is, DEI, excuse me, BA is integrated into everything that I do with my business. So I don't really section it out. So when I'm talking about developing leaders, I am working with people, specifically the ones that are in charge, the ones that are creating the culture, the ones that are signing the checks and doing the hiring, and making sure they understand how to relate to, how to better treat, how to not traumatize and re-traumatize the people that work for them. I've been working since I was 15, and I have seen and been witness to horrible leadership. And I felt like there's got to be a better way to do this, right? I feel like we can still make money, make the deadlines, hit the sales goals, and treat people like people. And so what we do is work with the leaders to kind of create some consciousness with them around the people that they're working for, the communities that they serve, and how they can um, again, not re-traumatize people. I'm really, really focused on kind of the trauma-informed approach of leadership, and trying to make sure that we are aware of what's going on outside of the business and understanding that people live in the world outside of the business, and the things that happen on the outside are going to impact the people on the inside. And then with my coaching, I specifically focus with women and non-binary people of color, and LGBTQ plus folks, specifically because those are the people who don't get the mentoring that we should. The ones that are kind of, you know, oh, we didn't know that you wanted to be leadership. And it's like, well, of course I want to be leadership, right? But no one calls on us. And so I did a little struggling myself, and I wanted to make sure that someone else had a professional auntie to kind of like be there, call them out on things, but also kind of like root them on.
Well, we're
And
here
then,
for a good auntie.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What else were you going to add, auntie?
Oh, I was just going to say, I feel like for me, there wasn't necessarily a pivotal moment. I feel like I've always been that person that's been like, hey, this isn't fair, and this is why. For better or for worse, some teachers loved it, some teachers hated it. I can remember back even in the 5th grade writing a paper about how we were blaming Arab American folks for the Oklahoma City bombing, and how I didn't feel that that was right. Wrote a paper about it in my 5th grade way. So that's always been me, and how I've been is just, this doesn't feel right. Can we talk about it? And just, make a business out of it now. Like I said, I've been doing it for free for almost a decade, and so it's about time we get paid for the work that we've done. So
It's been past time. So, I mean, I'm all about monetizing our gifts and definitely optimizing those gifts as well. But when you think about, again, how often we are re traumatized and triggered as we are doing this work, both voluntarily and paid, we want to make sure that we both get the pay we deserve as well as the peace we deserve. But let's talk about how you create this psychological safety. So, I'll let D tee us up so we can learn a little bit more about this topic today.
Yeah, so I think that when we think about this topic of psychological safety, African Americans, Black folks have been looking for this and seeking for this for years and centuries on past, right? But we didn't know how to name it. We didn't know that all of the things that we were experiencing during the civil rights movement, before then and after then, when we think about the women's rights movement and the right to vote and all these movements, were really traumatizing to us and really and had become a way of life. But we did not understand that that way of life was not healthy or healthy for our long term, and there were some impacts upon that, right? And we starting to talk about these impacts of all of the trauma that we've had upon our lives, right? And I remember in 2020 when people were talking about no longer are we going to look at the trauma porn, which is a really strong phrase when you think about it, but it is about why do we have to continue to share our stories with people, right? Because that is hurtful to us, right? To retell those stories, but we also understand that if we don't tell the stories, then people act like they don't happen, right? And so today's conversation is really about how do we maintain that peace and find that psychological safety among all the chaos and all the things that are happening within our organization and outside of our organizations that we're having to witness more now that we have these cell phones, right? That people are able to see things more than they ever have before, right? Because before there was George Floyd, there was Emmett Till. So these things are happening, but now we're seeing it, and it's a lot, right? So talk to me a little bit about, as we get into this conversation, about what should organizations be thinking about or looking for when we think about triggers of people not feeling psychologically safe, or when people are feeling psychologically unbalanced, or when people are feeling psychologically overwhelmed, right? What's happening in the world? What things should organizations be looking for? And what is one or two things they need to be implementing when they see so many things happening within their employee base or the underrepresented population, especially Black folk?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is keeping aware of current events, right? So being management, leadership, having people report to you is being very much aware of what's going on in the world around you, especially if you don't have the identities of the people that are working for you, right? Um, if it's a surprise to you and then they have to explain it to you, again, that's rehashing the trauma. And just being aware that because it doesn't necessarily impact you does not mean that it's not going to impact folks. And again, like I said, we're people outside of work. And so when things happen outside of work, it's going to impact how we show up for work. I think another thing is keeping track of sick days and mental health days, and not in the punitive sense, but in being very aware of, Sue has been taking time off a lot randomly because she's sick. Is she sick? Do we need to give her support? Or are these actually mental health days that she needs to be able to kind of move forward, right? Are people showing up to virtual meetings with the camera off? Nothing wrong with that. But for some people, that's the only way I can still show up at work, um, but kind of be able to be present as much as possible, and I think the biggest thing that I always say is just know the people who work for you and with you. We don't have to be best friends, we don't have to hang out on the weekends, but you need to be able to know that as a Black person, when you hear about another Black person getting killed, it's probably going to affect me in some way, shape, or form, because I'm human, because I'm worried that might be me. I'm worried that might be somebody I love. And so just being aware of the people that are in your space. And I think as far as kind of solutions to this. A lot of businesses have EAPs and employee assistance programs that are part of your benefits package, right? And for the most part, they are a free service that's included in your benefits, and can support people both with like mental health on like a short term, um, legal help, law. And so sometimes you need that, right? And if you're an HR, if you're a people manager, you need to know what benefits your folks have, and you need to make sure that people are aware that they can use them, that they cannot be penalized for using them, and make sure that you make it as easy as possible for them to access those programs as much as possible. Um, but yeah, I think really it's just about being aware of what's going on in the world and knowing who works for you and who works with you.
Now, some great information. So let's unpack that a little bit, right? So the first thing that I heard you say is making sure that you're aware of what's going on outside of work, because obviously people bring that into work and then it affects how they do their own work. So, business owner to business owner, DEI consultant to DEI consultant, when it comes to finding either industry trends or making sure that you're culturally competent, or finding out what's going on in the world to bring this to other organizations, do you have like a top 3 resources that you lean on aside from CNN or Fox News? Hopefully those aren't the two top, but where do you tend to lean to get this information to share with others?
Yeah, I use LinkedIn just because the people that are going to be in my network are going to be getting similar news.
Okay.
I personally use NPR. It's reasonably balanced, and kind of getting as many sides as possible of what's going on in the world, and then there's just backed research. And also Al Jazeera English, getting feedback from outside of the US on what's going on in the US has also helped me get a different perspective on the way that others are perceiving what is going on here. And has also given me insight into the ways in which, one, I can work with people that don't live in the US, and to kind of help larger organizations understand this is what it looks like to people outside of the States. So when you are working with people outside of the States, these are the things that you need to be aware of and how people are perceiving our country and by proxy, your organization being from the United States.
I love that. That's really helpful, especially if you're working with a global organization. Just to throw another one out there, I have a tendency to work with tech companies and nonprofit organizations. So I'm leaning on Tech Nibble. So that's also a great resource. And typically they're talking about what is going on in that particular industry. But you can also, of course, do some quick Googles and see how it impacts DEI or how DEI impacts that particular piece of knowledge. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So I remember I was doing a session one day during helping leaders and the organization understand what was happening in the world during 2020 with people protesting and rioting and being just really upset about all of the racial trauma we were experiencing. And I remember I just literally started crying on a call, right? And I had to turn myself off camera and all of those things as I was facilitating. So what do you do when you're feeling that emotional place and when you're feeling fatigued by this work and burnt out by this work? What do you do to re-energize yourself, and how should people tap into that?
Yeah, what you said kind of triggered a memory of 2020 when I was still working in the field, working for a nonprofit, and I sent an email to my team and I was like, the weekly team meeting can happen, but I'm not going to be able to lead it. I was like, as a Black woman, as a queer person, there's just too much going on for me to be able to be helpful. And the people of color on the team were really, one, shocked, but also appreciative of the space that also gave them to opt out of that meeting. And so I think if you are a people manager, and even if you're not, honestly, to just be very aware of yourself and keep in touch with yourself. For me personally, I try to meditate, I try to journal, get those thoughts out. I have the privilege of having a therapist that I see every week. And her and I have a lot of conversations about a lot of things. And I'm very thankful that as of last year, my therapist is a Black queer woman. Never had one of those. And that's also very important. And also know that that's a privilege. And then I dance. If I don't dance, things aren't right. Right. So I'm moving to music, I'm taking classes, I'm performing, just moving my body and kind of getting that stuff out and, having to turn my brain off. I got to make sure that, I'm not falling off of a stage or running into something. And for me, knowing myself and knowing kind of what makes me feel good and free is how I work towards that. And sometimes it's hard, right? When I was working in nonprofit and in the hospital and those 24/7 programs, it can get real difficult. I think having some sort of regular practice and centering yourselves, right? Do it on a Sunday, even if you don't go to church. Like, what am I doing this week? What has happened since the last time I checked in? Where's my head at? Have I eaten? Have I hydrated? Am I sleeping? Have I hugged or been hugged? Really just checking in and seeing, am I feeling distance from my community? Am I feeling distance from myself? And it feels like a lot, but when you practice it, it becomes less work, right? You don't sit on the couch for months and then be like, I'm going to go run a marathon tomorrow, right? You're testing it out every day. You run a half a mile today and I'm 3/4 of a mile tomorrow. Maybe the day after that, you might only be able to do 1/4 of a mile, right? But just making sure that you're getting up and you're getting at it and reaching out for help. And I know that that's hard for us as a people, that things are fine. We don't put our business out there on Front Street. But sometimes you need to reach out for support and really just kind of fighting that stigma within yourself to do better for you, because you're not going to be helpful to the community if you're keeping your stuff under wraps so that it doesn't get out into the community, right? You're not going to be as helpful to the rest of us if you're not 100%.
I love that. Now I have to ask though, what type of dance?
I have done everything. I've been dancing since I was 5. Currently I am dancing, doing burlesque, but I've done ballet, clogging, belly dance, lyrical modern dance, did some marching band, all over the place. Just I got to move my body.
You say clogging?
She
Yes,
said
sir.
Okay, for the
did.
inclusion and diversity with the clogging. I never would have guessed. Okay, go ahead, clog away.
Well, DeAngelo, when it comes to dancing, we're always very inclusive of your dancing. So that, Never know what we're gonna get.
Maybe when I get some libations, though, I get all my rhythm in there, honey. Okay, the rhythm I could talk to the best of them
Listen,
without the libations, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
as soon as he hears, "What's your zodiac sign?"
This is Friday. Okay.
I really love, Vashti, that you talked about, that there's no punishment that someone would experience in communicating how they're feeling. When I did a quick Google, it said that psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. You also gave some examples of us having the permission, if you will, to retreat, to be off camera, to not show up to a meeting, to not be in spaces. Now, just real talk, if we're talking about doing this work for organizations, they don't want to hear that. They don't want us not showing up. They definitely don't want us not contributing. What other outcomes and beneficial outcomes could you say that organizations will experience if we are experiencing psychological safety?
Retention. Especially since 2020, people are leaving, starting businesses, doing something else with themselves, right? So you spend money recruiting, hiring, training, and then I leave, then you got to do it all over again.
Come on.
And there is an investment that it ends up being a sunk cost if I'm only there for 6 months. Right. And so when I'm looking at an organization, I don't necessarily look at who's in the office and who's in the business, but who has left. How long were they here? Right? Because we can tout, oh, we got all these Black and brown and queer and disabled people, but how long are they staying? Are they all on the front level? Are any of them managers? Are any of them, on track for the C-suite? And money. We talk to the capitalist, the business case, money, sick days that you have to pay, but work doesn't get done. People just up and leaving because they just can't handle it, and they're like, "I'll figure it out," and I've quit. Now there's a gap, and then also the liability of getting sued, the bad press, having to settle, having to retrain a whole department. Like there are many business case reasons for why not keeping track of this and not staying up to date on what is going on with the people that work for you can be detrimental to an organization.
Well said. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the work that you do with women, non-binary people, and the LGBTQ plus community, and so I want to talk about allyship a little bit. And we ask this question on every show, but I'm going to be very specific today because I just want to we with us right now. What does the Black cisgendered heterosexual community need to know about the LGBTQ plus community that they don't know that will help them show up better, right? Or more effectively, or better as an ally? What would you say as you've been working? What have you noticed that maybe the difference is? But sure, anything along those lines about allyship, really.
Yeah. Speaking specifically to that group, there are queer Black folks. There have always been queer Black folks. There stopped being queer Black folks when capitalism, colonialism, and white supremacy integrated into us being taken from where we came from. So understanding that binary is a construct, that gender is a construct, that sexuality is a spectrum, and that Black people exist on all lines and points of that intersection. So even if you do not understand, even if it is new to you, even if you're messing up pronouns, but you're trying, using, a different name is a little difficult, you have to remember that that's another Black person. They've got other mountains they have to climb that you might not have to be, but that is still a Black person. That is still kin, right? And it's going to be hard. And I think that there are a lot of things, especially if we're going to wrap, religion into it, that can make it difficult. But at the same time, that is still a person. And on top of that, that's still a Black person. And that there are struggles that they have that you don't. But the big one that people can see is that you're both Black.
Yeah. That's often our first identity, right? The identity we relate to the most many times. And I think that's what you said there, right? That's the commonality. And we're all fighting this fight of how do we live in our Blackness. And then for this LBGT, or my community, our community, it's another level too. But first and foremost, we're fighting to be Black. I always tell people, we want to, yes, we want to get married, but we want to live first. So we are fighting for the right to live, and then we can fight for the right to get married. But right now, it's for the right to live. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
That is beautiful. And I think another thing to add to that is, stop co-opting the movement. I'm going to just throw that out there, because there are some folks that want to add to the plus to IA and then add more. There's enough letters there, right? You don't have to be included in that spectrum in order to be an ally to that spectrum. And I've noticed that there are some communities that are, this is a whole nother conversation, right? But there are some communities that are trying to add on to just to be a part of, and that's not necessary at all. So just a thought. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is one of our newer, and I would say one of our favorite segments. I say all the segments are our favorite. You've given some good knowledge, but now we want a little bit more knowledge about you and who you are as a person. So we're gonna have a couple of rapid fire questions. Are you okay with that?
Yes, let's do it.
She was like, I was ready for that. Like, all this professional nonsense. It's Friday. All right, so I'll go first. Childhood meal, hamburger helper or spaghetti?
Spaghetti. An adult meal, really, to be perfectly honest.
Once a week, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna have a question for you, actually. What's the last song that you had on repeat?
Oh man, I'm pretty sure it was an Arabic trap song. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, my music is vast and varied, and it is trap music done by an Arabic person.
I love that. That's the second time you shouted out our, Arab brothers and sisters. It is Arab Heritage Month as well, so we're going to throw that out there. All right, true love or purpose?
Purpose.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's see. I was supposed to be on this today. Okay. Shows that you would rather watch: reality show or scripted show?
Scripted shows, specifically police procedurals.
Like what? What is it? Like
CSI, Law and Order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, those are good to watch.
Forensic Files.
Sometimes, yes, all of those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last one: $500,000 or dinner with Soulja Boy?
$500,000.
I
got a business to invest in.
Another social media question. Is that one of those social media questions where dinner with Soulja Boy? Like, you get $500,000 or dinner with Michelle Obama, and that's a harder one.
Unless Michelle is going to invest in the business, because again, I got a business to invest in.
Let's go back to Soulja Boy for just one quick second. Y'all not going to keep downplaying Soulja Boy.
I'm not saying he's not important, but when I'm thinking about creating generational wealth and moving myself towards retirement, $500,000.
I like where you're going with that. Soulja Boy who? I like where you're going with that. Wait, don't cancel me. I know Soulja Boy. Watch me. Woo. Okay, yeah, anyhow, I can get ahead.
Going. Thank you so much for your knowledge. We really appreciate you. Thank you for participating in the fun questions as well. Dee, can you take us to our shout out before we close up today?
Yep, our shout out today is to the Black Mental Health Alliance. Their mission is to develop, promote, and sponsor trusted cultural relevant educational forums, trainings, and referral services that support the health and well-being of Black people in their communities. And I thought that was so important as we have today's topic. So go out there and check out the Black Mental Health Alliance. They also can help you find providers as well. And if you are a provider, you can get a part of their alliance so people can find you, because Black therapists are so needed, and LGBTQ Black therapists extra needed in this community. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Vashti, where can folks find you?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn, both as Vashti Boyce and the business Wild Iris Consulting, and on Instagram at Wild Iris Consulting.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for being our guest. Thank you all for joining us. This is week 2. We are wrapping up our 10th episode, and we hope to see you also on Monday, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you again for joining the Black DEIBA Collective. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Bye, everyone.